Congressman Mike Gallagher warns of China's spy activities on American soil. Saving Beijing from flooding was the regime's priority. Others were not so lucky. Suspicions of Beijing releasing floodwater, causing helpless residents to flee in the night. Congressman Mike Gallagher, a vocal critic of the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, warned that the U.S. is not yet fully aware of the extent of China's espionage operations within American borders. Gallagher chairs the House Select Committee on China. In an interview with Fox News on August 5th, he highlighted the persistent espionage efforts by the CCP against the U.S. He noted, "The CCP has continued its relentless espionage campaign against America." He added, "We are slowly waking up to it, but we're just beginning to scratch the surface in terms of this activity on American soil." Gallagher's remarks align with growing concerns among national security observers regarding heightened Chinese espionage activities in recent months. The arrest of 2 U.S. Navy sailors on August 3rd, accused of spying on behalf of China, heightened concerns. The congressman raised awareness about the influential role played by the secretive Chinese Ministry of State Security and the enigmatic United Front Work Department. Both entities are engaged in intelligence-gathering operations domestically and internationally. The two entities operate behind the complex framework of the CCP, and their true extent and capabilities still need to be better understood by Western observers. China's suspected covert police stations, scattered worldwide, have enabled the monitoring of individuals critical of the regime on a global scale. In a notable case, 2 individuals were charged with operating such a substation in downtown Manhattan, New York in April. The Chinese Ministry of State Security announced its intent to involve citizens in counter-espionage efforts, following the rule that broadens Chinese surveillance over documents and data. This move has raised concerns among American officials who fear potential interference by Beijing in businesses operating within China. Earlier in the week, Gallagher urged President Joe Biden to extend forthcoming investment restrictions on China, including stocks and bonds. Furthermore, Gallagher's committee recently scrutinized BlackRock and MSCI, expressing concerns that the two firms funnel American capital into over 60 Chinese companies flagged by U.S. agencies for security or human rights issues. Recently, when Beijing became inundated with massive rainfall, the Chinese regime decided to release the floodwaters to the surrounding areas to save China's capital. Although the decision relieved the pressure on the capital, other places were not so lucky, and the effect was almost immediate. Hebei province suffered heavy losses when flooding from Beijing hit it. This caused much devastation to the communities in the path of the raging waters and angered the people. According to the BBC's report on August 5th, people in Zhuozhou City, Hebei, complained on social media that they did not have time to prepare for the incoming floods, when the decision to release more than 1 billion cubic meters of water from Beijing to Hebei was made without warning. The city became isolated by flood, and power and drinking water disappeared. Many people were just thankful to escape with their lives. One woman, clutching her baby, said, "We brought nothing with us. We needed to just get out and keep this baby safe." Anger grew when Hebei's Communist Party secretary, Ni Yuefeng, proudly announced that his province would become a moat to protect Beijing. Reacting to Ni's statement, a netizen wrote, "Is he party secretary of Hebei province or Beijing? I'm confused." Another vented, "Those in power only care about their superiors. Congratulations, he'll be promoted. But the obedient 70 million residents of Hebei will be sacrificed." Zhuozhou, home to 600,000 people, was already reeling from a year's worth of rain falling in just a month, and the diverted floodwaters were catastrophic. In some areas, the water level rose to 40 feet. In Baoding Prefecture, 4,000 homes were destroyed, and at least 10 people were killed according to the government, although that number may be much higher. According to state media, 2 cars were sent plunging into the Mudan River when a highway bridge collapsed on August 3rd, and so far there are no reports of the number of deaths. Wang Weiluo is a Chinese engineer. Now, Wang is living in Germany after criticizing China's construction of the Three Gorges Dam. Wang said that when designing the flood relief system, the Chinese regime stipulated that when large cities such as Beijing, Tianjin, and Shanghai become under pressure from floods, the surrounding localities should bear the damage instead. He said, under China's system, at the bottom are the ordinary people in the city, and those in the countryside, whose interests are not reputable. According to Wang, the Chinese regime does not necessarily have to choose such a flood escape plan. They can still select another option to minimize damage to people. He remarks that below the Yangding River, many golf courses can be used to contain floodwaters from Beijing. However, if the Chinese regime chooses this option, it will affect the interests of golfers there. In China, the golfers are all from the rich, many of whom are members of the CCP, or have close ties and a great influence on the organization's officials. Recently, Typhoon Doksuri swept through Beijing and Tianjin in China. On August 2nd, Beijing experienced 744.8 millimeters of rainfall, the highest in 140 years. Tiananmen Square and Xijincheng, the Forbidden City's central areas, were flooded, a rare occurrence in history. Chinese media reported that hundreds of Beijing, Hebei, and Tianjin residents posted distress messages, mainly from rural areas. Determining the number of people who lost contact, casualties, and those trapped in villages is difficult. Before this, the official publication of the book, Presentation and Analysis of President Xi Jinping's Water Governance, on July 19th, was mocked by many. The book was just published, and there was heavy rain, an immediate confirmation. The people in Muntou-go, the most severely flooded area in Beijing, send congratulations on the book's publication. Tropical storm Doksuri studied the book seriously. My house in Zhuozhou, the most severely flooded area in Hebei province, is thankful for the management. Hebei and Tianjin sacrificed for Beijing. However, during this heavy rain, the most severely affected area was not Beijing, but Muntou-go, in the northwest of Beijing, extending southward to regions. These areas are believed to be used by the government to protect Beijing from floods. China Youth Online reported on July 31st that Jingyang Lake in Hebei province had opened its floodgates, and 20 large and medium-sized reservoirs were also being discharged. Twitter account Overseas News stated that authorities had conveyed internally that to protect Beijing from flooding, they needed to discharge water from Beijing to the Langfang urban area in Hebei, and then to Tianjin, and out to the sea, Hebei province, and the two districts of Jinghai and Xiting in Tianjin, with a total area of 379 square kilometers, had to hold back the flood for Beijing and help prioritize its discharge. By now, at least 20 large and medium-sized reservoirs near Beijing were opening their gates for release, and areas like Jingyang Lake, Hebei, and Mondao had become flood discharge zones. Emergency evacuation in Baigo town due to flood discharge. In Baigo town, Hebei province, located to the southwest of Beijing, early on August 2nd, residents were informed that those in low-lying areas had to evacuate immediately due to the risk of the Baigo River's embankment breaking. Due to the abrupt occurrence of this event, people panicked, and vehicles on the road jostled one another, resembling an apocalypse-like escape. A video showed many people running at night, with the highway heavily congested. Some people said they had been running from the evening until morning and had yet to leave Baigo. In the video, an extremely distressed man tearfully said they had evacuated and rescued over 100 people that day. The water was rising rapidly, and all those affected by the disaster were calling for help. However, toll booths were still issuing toll cards one after another, causing long queues and provoking anger. Account Junjun Vic posted on Weibo, "I heard that the dam in Hebei might break, and people were urgently evacuated, but they got stuck at the toll booth. Have the consciences of these officials already been devoured by beasts?" Continuous calls for help in Zhuozhou. Zhuozhou, located to the north of Baigo town, was severely affected. The largest Juma River in Zhuozhou meandered and passed through many villages, causing flooding. The whole city was submerged, with water and electricity cut off, and many residents were surrounded by floods and waiting for rescue. A heart-wrenching video showed people from communities near Dashi Tiao Market on National Highway 107 in Zhuozhou crying for help at night. An account named Wu Wenxing posted, "The tragedy of history has been repeated. The rainfall in tropical regions and Taiwan is much higher than in Beijing, but those areas are less flooded. For the past 10 years, China has experienced floods every year. Why hasn't the government found the cause and dealt with it? They always just stand and watch as disasters happen." A video depicted that after Zhuozhou became flooded, all vehicles were destroyed and submerged in water. Residents' homes in Zhuozhou, Hebei were washed away, and the water continued to rise. To survive, they could only climb onto electric poles. One video showed floodwater from heavy rain in Mentogo, almost submerging moving vehicles, with some drivers climbing onto the roofs of their cars and being swept away by the current. Some netizens revealed that the network signal in Mentogo was cut off to prevent people from live streaming, and hundreds of people had died there. The atrocities were genuinely horrifying.